Okay, my name is Edegbe Iyibosa Philip. I'm a media consultant. I think I've been doing this over the last 26 years now. Then this is my story. Ordinarily, I think media was not my thing. Like every family, you want your son, your daughter to be an accountant, a doctor, blah, blah, blah. So I'm actually started as I read accounting in university. I became a banker. I worked in the bank for like 16 years, and I never thought of doing media. But I've always been doing media by the side because at some point in my life, I read a book written by Dale Carnegie that talked about doing something you love that you retire into. So after school, luckily for me, I was one of those few privileged ones that got a job in the bank, and I was doing very well, averagely very well, like every other person. But the reality is, because of House on the Rock, that's my church, I joined the refugee media 2000. That's like 26 years ago. I got to learn about media production and all that. It was just something I was doing by the side. I was still a professional banker, making all the money I need to make, doing very well, like an average person. But something strange happened to me in 2014. We're doing business as bankers, and somebody ran away with all my money. We bought dollars, about $500,000. Sent to one of my colleagues, senior colleague, to help sell in just, and the guy went away with all the money. So at that point, it was a terrible, although $500,000 there was like around 90 million naira then. At that point, I was in serious trouble. There was no money. I was owing people over 50 million naira. I just got married. It was a very big, difficult one for me. But while I was praying, the only message I could hear God tell me to go back to what I loved, which was camera. So that was why I started doing the business of camera. So the first thing I did, I had over 50 million naira I was owing. How do I pay these people? Even based on my salary, what I was about less than 500K there and all that. I can't even pay 50 million with 500,000. So the first thing I did was to reach out. In 1 month, I sent over 600 proposals to all the NGOs and different agencies in Nigeria. And when you are pushed to the wall, you don't have a choice. You just have to survive. It was survival for me. Luckily for me, about 5 or so reached out to me out of 600. And they engaged me. That was how money started coming in. In fact, the first 3 engagements was also bad. When you are desperate, I needed money. A lot of people were on my neck and all that. So in trying to deliver the job, devil struck again. We have finished the job. One of the job was a 21 million naira job to do a documentary. I was given the job, I had done the job. The day we were going to go and submit the job, my editor claimed he was attacked. And the only thing they took from that attack was a system that has the job. After that experience, I lost another 21 million naira, but somehow reached out to them, begged that they should give me another chance, a second chance. Gave them letters that they give me a second chance to go back and do the shooting again. They did, went back, then we used black magic cameras then. You know what happened to my videographer? I said he was trying to copy and press something, everything. So at that point, the basic of has to cancel the job. Imagine borrowing money 2 times for a project. I remember one of the persons I borrowed money from, I don't want to mention the person's name, came to me. Then I was still working in the bank. I have not left the bank then. Came to my office to report me to my then branch manager that she borrowed me 2 million naira for a project, and I'm telling her stories. In fact, it was my branch manager that paid that 2 million. That day, I had to start paying my branch manager from my salary on a monthly basis. So it was really not a good experience. But you know, there's something about life when you keep pushing. So what I was not doing, instead of working 10 hours, there was a time I was working maybe in a day up to like 22 hours in a day, non-stop. Both bank and work. Because I'm indebted, how do I pay this debt? How do I sort out myself? So when I close from work, from the bank, 6 o'clock, I go back to my house, start writing proposals. Then when I finish writing proposals, I'll write. I used to have photocopier, printer, everything in my house. So I don't even have money to pay anybody. So I write proposals myself. At some point, I couldn't even pay my rent. That one was not even an issue. My rent was, somebody that is owing 50 million, what is rent of 1.5 or 2 or 1 million? That was the least part of my problem. But what all this did to me was, the only option I had was to work. So once I closed from work, I go back to work. I'll work from 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock to like 4 a.m. Buy envelope, arrange those documents. So as I'm going to work, during my break time, I'm going to each of those agencies to submit proposals and all that. No, I know a lot of times, there was a day I was driving to Jos. I wish I didn't do that anyways. You know, there was a day I was driving to Jos and my prayer was, God, let one trailer just jam this car, let me just die and let it off. Because I never knew I would come out of those kind of mess. It was a big mess that even my pastor knew about it. My senior pastor knew, everybody knew about it. It was terrible. But that was the only time. But somehow I just knew whenever I prayed, God just kept reminding me that I was going to get out of these whole issues. And God did it. So at some point, even after some prayers, I went to meet the people I was owing. Say, you know, this business went bad. I'm owing you 5 million. What I'm paying you is 2.5. I will take. And guess what? Everybody I spoke with agreed to my terms. So it was not left for me to look at, work out for this money and pay these people. So that was what really pushed me to the world. So I started submitting proposals. At some point, jobs started coming. That's after like between 2015 and 2016, jobs started coming. I was pushing out. I was not just submitting one. Imagine one person submitting over 600 proposals in a month. That was like a mad person. Going everything that would make me succeed, I was ready to do that. When jobs started coming, I didn't have a choice. I also discovered that while I was still in the bank and I was getting the jobs, I'll send my boys to go and do the job. They'll come with 1 or 2 stories. So at some point I had to resign to focus on the job. And you know, there's nothing as good as what is yours. The kind of energy and all that you put on your job will be different from when you're asking somebody to do that same job for you. So I resigned and I didn't regret resigning. Guess what? In 3 years, between 2014 and 2017, I paid up all those debts I was owing. So the work thing now became part of me. So that was how money started coming. So when you have the what drive me to do the work was to be able to settle the people I was owing, but it was really embarrassing. After I now settled the people, so that work life is now part of my life. So every money I was now making afterwards was now my money. But by the time I got out of that mess, a lot of my friends still felt I was still very poor. When you're in a mess, you call friends and say, "A guy, borrow me 100,000, borrow me 20,000." A lot of my friends stopped picking my call because if Philip is seeing that dark age, but at some point, by the time most of them realize I've even passed them 101 times, I've moved very far, and God really helped me. I just want to say, apart from God was on my side, also my wife was also a very strong backbone. My wife was very helpful. Most of this work I told you I did, we did it together. It wasn't as if although she was not working, she helped in a lot of ways. She's a lawyer, legal part of it. Most times when they will invite me to EFCC on Friday, you tell me not to go, that you go and represent me. So she played a very good role in the legal and even settlement part of this whole stuff. We actually had the judgment. We caught the person at the end of the day. The person confessed to the crime, and Nigeria judiciary, he was sentenced to 2 years in prison without asking him to pay for the money. I started in refuge media 2020. I joined 2001. Then in one of those occasions, I became the HOD of refuge media around 2006 and all that. So, HOD now, I've done all the camera work, guys. My job is now more to just tell people what and what to do. So there was this occasion, one of my cameramen was shouting at my director, and I keep telling my people that once, even if you are the senior brother or you are the father of a director, the director is in charge of every production. That should be what really pushed me into media to do. So he came back to the studio just to prove to the department people that me too, I'm a camera person. I now carry the camera. Because, when I became HOD, I was now doing more of administrative work and all that, no more time to do camera. As I was handling the camera with passion and all that, an elderly woman just wrote a note. "I like the way you carry your cameras. Can you call me after service?" What would an elderly woman be? What kind of talk is this? It was that period that, so I was reluctant. So after service, I called. I said, "Oh, when you were carrying camera, I like the way you were handling your camera. I want to introduce you to my MD." I said, "Okay, fine, no problem." So the next morning, I now went to her office. I didn't even know she was an executive director with the bank, Intercontinental Bank. And then she introduced me to. Then even though I do camera, but it was not work for me. It was just more of passion. It was more of I've never made one kobo from camera work. So by the time I got to the meeting, "Where's your company profile?" So I said, "I don't have a company profile, but I'm the head of Refuge Media. I've done a lot of events, Jam Mega Festival, It's Your Time conference." I was just mentioning I didn't even know that the MD then knows our senior pastor, Pastor Paul. The MD now said, "Wow, anybody that knows that is HOD of media can do this job. I know your pastor, Pastor Paul." Also, they gave me a system that should give them quotation to do their 20th anniversary. From nowhere, I just did a budget of almost like 15 million for the event, because it was a big event. Needed to do some adverts and all that, and I have them. I know some of those things, even though I was not making any money from it. The minute I sent the budget, the man laughed. Said the budget we have for this event is 8 million, but we can't give you the whole 8 million. Reduce your budget to 7.8 million. So I removed 200 and gave them a budget of 7.8 million. In fact, that was the day I became a millionaire. Prior to that date, I was just doing media for free. I've never collected one kobo from media. That first day, they gave me 7.8 million. Even the woman that introduced me, I said, no, let's give him 50%. After he finishes his job, we'll give him the balance 50%. Then she, don't worry, I know his pastor. This guy cannot run away with my money. So they gave me 100% of the amount. And through God's grace and if I was able to execute the job effectively. That was the first pointer that I knew that this media thing, there is money. There is money. But by grace of God, look at the numbers of people I'm employing today just through media. I can tell you 100% that if I didn't have that issue, I would not be where I am today, even as a business person. That's just like God saying, it turns your money into dancing. So it was what the enemy meant for evil, God turned it around for good. It was really meant for. I can also tell you that if not for my wife, then maybe I would have done something terrible. For all the mind, she was the one giving me all those mind that this one will pass one of the days, it will pass one of those days and we'll get over it. And guess what? We got over it. We got over it since 2017. That's like 9 years ago. We got over it since 2017. If not for God and my wife, there is no way. Just imagine somebody that earns a salary of, say, between 300,000 to 500,000, losing that kind of people's, not your money, these people's money they gave you in trust. We're doing the business of buying and selling dollars. I still do that business today. So what happened is there's some customers then, as a BDC person, you're entitled to like $500 on a weekly basis. So there are some BDC customers that don't have money. So we now ask people to pull in their pools of funds. We'll buy dollar with it, we'll sell, make one naira, we'll give the owner of the dollar 2 naira, we'll take 2 kobo, then we'll take like 80 kobo and share amongst ourselves. It was just an extra way of making income to just move on in life and all that. If I didn't have a kind of a side business like that media thing, there's no way I would have even been able to pay that money. But based on my annual income, why would you pay over 50 million naira in 3 years? It's not possible now. So it would have taken me maybe, I know nobody will give you his money and tell you wait till 10 years or thereabout to be able to pay its funds. It just boiled down to what I would advise young people to do. Look for something I never knew I'll be doing well in the media industry today. It was just like my passion. I like camera, but there's no part of the 36th state of the Federation, even before this incident happened, I have not traveled with camera. And when I was not doing it for money. It was just more of the fun part of it. Let's just, if my friend is getting married, my contribution for the wedding will be, I'll be up videographer, photographer for the event. It was just more of what I was doing for fun. I just felt my career was a banker, rise to the top as a banker, do my stuff. But when the devil struck and while I was praying, God now told me, why not look at this, your business very well. So even up to when I told my wife I was going into the business of media, she was like, how much do they pay camera people? But the first time when she saw Mercy Corps gave us 21 million naira contract, what? So you mean you can be paid 21 million naira to carry camera? So that was what also pushed our interest in the business. We got jobs. I've been so lucky. I've done jobs in assets. I've done one media job where they paid me almost $1 billion naira for both production and dissemination. So we'll do the document around the 36 states of the Federation, then the advert, billboard, and all that. I've been privileged to be given that kind of a big job, and I executed it 100%. And, but just imagine if I didn't know anything about camera production, if I didn't read a book that advised me to just aside the book thing, now just think of something by the side that you enjoy doing that you can do for free. Then for me, camera was something I can do for anybody for free. You don't even need to pay me. 99% of my friends that got married between 2001 and 2012, I did free camera, but I didn't collect one. It was just something I was doing for fun. It was just more of a passion for me. I like carrying cameras. You want me to carry camera? Even till today, I can handle this stuff you guys are holding. So it was more of like that. It was just a passion that now finally rescued me from a big problem and all that. Or sometimes they say the first thing is just get education, regardless of how you got it. So why did I submit over 600 proposals in 1 month? I went to a business school many years ago. I was just to one of those leave. I went for a 3 weeks business school, Kaduna Business School. So we're talking about striving in business, the Nigeria thing, and all that. So in my group, I was the head of my group. So I told our professor then that the reason I don't want to do business in Nigeria is because of the Nigeria thing. You must know somebody and all that for you to be able to get 1 or 2 deals of business. I said, Philip, you are a Christian? I said, yes, I'm a Christian, sir. He said, Jesus healed 10 lepers. 1 came to say thank you. Even as a businessman, regardless of how bad Nigeria is, if you submit 100 proposals and you don't get 1, anywhere you see me, fight me. That there's a level you put in the work that the universe itself will reward you. This is no longer luck. It's more of the universe rewarding your efforts. So he just gave me that talk many years ago. I think I went for the business school 2007. Then 7 years later, an issue came that made me remember what a Muslim advised me, that the only way out as somebody starting is to put in the work. And when you put in the work, the universe has a way of rewarding our Lord. So that was, if that man did not give me that advice, there is no way I would have put in that kind of effort. So immediately that problem came, the first thing that came to me, this is the advice this man gave me. Let me try this advice out. I saw, aside that, I've done it a lot of times. I've been asked to do stuff for most of these international NGOs, to raise funds for them and all that for most of their major events. And I don't need to know anybody. There was a time I sent over 1,000 proposals to different agencies for sponsorship. And I got some without knowing anybody. What I just did was to go into the internet, all the addresses of all the NGOs, they'll send it to me. I'll start writing. All the addresses of all the embassies, I'll start writing. That's all. I'll just write to I'm not even writing to, I'm writing to the group head or the highest person there. Send it to them, they'll stamp. By the time you send that number, you'll discover that somehow, you may not get 10% of what you send, but there is possibility of you getting close to 5%. And that is what really matters. For business people, a lot of people, God has also blessed a lot of people. This is just by the sad advice, but they squander the money. 80% of my success is not really the job that comes. Is how I've been able to delay my gratifications. When people make 1 million, you spend the 1 million and becomes nothing. Because I was a banker, God gave me that grace of not spending. Rather, if money comes, rather than spend it and go to UK, US to go and enjoy yourself, you just do 1 or 2 investments. And it has really paid off. The reason I can stay 2 years without getting a job and I'll still be very comfortable is because at some point in my life, when the jobs were coming, I delayed my gratification rather than squander the money. There are some few properties, landed stuff I got for 1 million that is now going for like 40-50 million today. And I'm this kind of, my wife keep wondering that you keep buying like you don't sell. I say it's just for gratuity. When I become old, I cannot start having fun and enjoying myself. So a lot of people also, God bless some very upcoming youths, but because of money management, they just spend it anyhow. Before you know it, they go back to the way they used to be. I've stayed, there was a year. It was only 2 jobs I got. But it didn't affect anything about me. Because even my staff, they didn't even know. I was still paying them salary. They were wondering, "Oga, where are you getting the money from?" Because I've saved enough that even when 2, 3, 4, 5 months the job doesn't come, from the savings, you just see on an average life, and
This second advice covers how to maintain the answers. So once you start it, then the other way to maintain it is to
invest. If God bless you with 1 million today, you didn't have 1 million before, and all of a sudden God bless you with 1 million. Why not live as if the 1 million did not come and invest it? I call it Isaac. The way I work is this. That's why I'm able to, if I do a job now, I make 10 million naira as profit, is for example, rather than start spending the 10 million naira, or think of what investments to put the 10 million naira. So it's the profits I make from 10 million, that's what I spend. I will hardly spend my Isaac. I will hardly. I'm not the type. I'm this kind of a person that you can't coerce me to go and come and buy shirts. If I'm buying any shirt, if I buy for January, even if you are my father, you bring it. I won't buy again till next year, January. So I do a lot of planning.